And car manufacturing giant Hyundai is gradually going to suspend production at its South Korean factories. Unions say that the coronavirus outbreak in China has disrupted supplies of vehicle parts. Now, the car maker has already stopped operations at one assembly line. The union says that most of Hyundai's South Korean factories will be idle by Friday or early next week. Now, this makes Hyundai the first major global car maker to stop production outside of China due to that virus outbreak. Now, for more on the coronavirus and its impact on supply chains across industries, Alex Capri, visiting senior fellow at NUS Business School, joins us here in the studio. Good evening, Alex. Good to see you. All right, so Hyundai has made this decision to suspend operations at its South Korean factories. Do you anticipate seeing other car manufacturers following suit?
Well, as this epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, hopefully it's not a pandemic, as this continues, we're going to see this impact not just automotive manufacturers, but any value chains that have very complex levels of parts and components, many of which are flown in via air freight. So as we see interruptions and disruptions to, for example, air traffic, air freight, particularly in and out of China, I do expect to see further disruptions.
So Wuhan just happens to be a very major hub for automakers, global automakers, and we have seen them make decisions about telling staff to go into quarantine and so on, and they've stopped production at some places. How susceptible is the car industry in particular to this outbreak?
Well, if you look at Toyota and General Motors, they're waiting for workers to come back from the New Year's holiday, and if they're coming back in the numbers that they're expecting. So that's going to have an impact on the assembly line, on the working process as well. So I expect these types of issues to extend beyond just Hyundai.
Apart from the auto industry, which industries, which sectors do you see as being particularly vulnerable?
Well, again, I think the tech sector, any kind of capital-intensive kind of value chain where you see components coming in from all over the world, going in and out multiple times, those types of supply chains are definitely already slowing down. And certainly from the retail side, if you look at companies like Apple, if you look at their potential sales in the mainland, which is a big growing share of their market, so when you have malls shut down, you have people staying home, that's also spilling over into the retail side.
In a sense, the Lunar New Year holiday gave companies a bit of breathing space before making big decisions. I mean, they must have been seriously considering what was going to happen once that holiday, came to an end. But what can these businesses and industries do in the short term? And bearing in mind that we really don't know where this is headed, the medium term, what can they do to sort of mitigate the fallout?
Well, I think they have to make the decision whether or not they're going to continue to produce, if they can, on a more limited basis, or whether they're just going to hold up production in general and sort of wait it out. As this issue drags on, there's more of a likelihood that we will see that. The other is if they can potentially stockpile certain items that maybe they've been having trouble getting, or that there has been a disruption in the supply chain, if they're able to sort of double down and stockpile some components, perhaps that will do it. But this is more complex because it involves people, actually people on the job, on the floor, who may not be able to return to work, as well as limited supply chains. And
potentially, do you think that there might be some fear of jobs as well? I mean, in terms of people, as you say, the people are going to be impacted here. Layoffs, perhaps?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We could see companies deciding to go to scaled down production plans, which inevitably would lead to some people either being, pushed away for a little while or even possibly losing their job.
Alex, thank you very much for coming into the studios and shedding some light on what we're seeing here with the auto industry and the suspension of production for Hyundai in South Korea. That was Alex Capri there, visiting senior fellow at the NUS Business School.